Our theme this month is Growing Through the Circle of Life. And our topic today is release. The word release is one of 4 words that I'm addressing as we grow in the circle of life this month. 2 weeks ago, the word was acknowledge. And last week, the word was bless. Today, release. And next week, replace. So if you missed acknowledge and bless, they'll be on YouTube within a week for you to listen to. So now you get release, and next week, of course, you will undoubtedly be here for replace. And brilliant students of metaphysics that you are, you know that these words and these actions are representative of the cycle of upping your consciousness. Yes, upping is really a word. Even the spell check on my MacBook Air confirms that. So release, as in let go, relax, surrender the old stuff. The old stuff that we talked about in the series I did back in September on laws of healing, dynamic laws of healing, for those of you who remember that. And if you missed that, that's also on YouTube, so you can go back and refresh your memory. And back in 2014, I did a series of talks on if you want a better life. And one of those talks was titled, Tell a Better Story. If you want a better life, tell a better story. Through the magic of the mind called recall, that title popped into my mind when I was preparing this series, and it began to unfold with regard to what I wanted to talk with you about. So today, I'd like to revisit some of those ideas as we explore the concept of releasing old stuff, like old ideas, like clothes that no longer fit us, and like old stories. Do you ever get tired of hearing your story? I mean, I know you get tired of hearing other people's stories, particularly after they've told you that same story innumerable times, or at least it seems like it. But do you ever get tired of hearing your own story? You know which story I mean. It's like my signature story. It's the one that I love to tell. In fact, it's the one that I embellish a little more each time I tell it. Embellish. Well, that means it gets more dramatic, it gets more detailed, and inevitably it gets longer. And sometimes it also gets more negative. Like it has more of the condition, it has more of the situation, it has more of, this is my story and I'm sticking to it. Or as Dennis Merritt Jones has reminded us, it's sticking to me. Well, that's today's target. That story that may be defining your life in ways that don't serve you beyond the opportunity to tell a tale from memory, but not necessarily from truth. Maybe it's time to release it. You know, we live in a world today that moves more quickly, comparatively speaking, than ever before. We can learn our words, or we can beam our words around the world. We can literally do that in a matter of seconds in today's world, can't we? Through the internet, by cell phone voice communication, by FaceTime, by Skype. We can find our way from one place to another by telling the GPS in our car the address that we're going to. And it guides us there street by street, turn by turn, down to how many more feet we have to go before we're there. Mine even says, you have arrived at your destination. Now, I think that's a nice prompt frankly, because where it's dark or there are no signs anywhere, it's nice to know I have arrived at my destination. So why is it then that so often I default to the old, oh, ain't it awful stories of the past? You know, the ones that express those beliefs that no longer serve me. I don't want them claiming for me, you have arrived at your destination. Is it habit that I default to the old stories? Is it laziness? Am I telling that old story by rote because it's easier than crafting a new one? Is it the desire to fit in with whoever I'm with at the moment? You know the old game. Can you top this? You think you've got trouble. Let me tell you. So, you see, my old stories are almost always tales of woe. Not always, but almost always. They almost are always about some form of suffering. Physical, mental, emotional, financial, political. The Buddha said, suffering follows an evil thought, like the wheels of a cart follow the oxen. Keeping in mind that the word evil means harmful, undesirable, extremely unpleasant, then suffering is bound to follow those stories that chronicle whatever is harmful, whatever is undesirable, whatever is unpleasant in those stories. But first, that beautiful process of chemicalization that we talked about in September must kick in. If you want a better story, if you want a better life, then you tell a better story. And when you utilize that process of chemicalization like we talked about in September, it supports us in releasing the old in order to make room for the new. So I want to qualify those words right here and right now by saying this. I'm not pressuring you to lie. I'm encouraging you not to accept the lies of life as if they were real. Lies like, all is lost, it's the economy. Or, life is hard. How about this one? It's inevitable. Or, health is tenuous and fleeting. Those lies show up in what I call the It's Not Working series. What I'm talking about instead is what you've been learning since the philosophy of metaphysics found you. The spiritual truth in life, the incredible demonstrations in your life by the actions of your words of truth. Truth. That which expresses in your life as a comfortable place to live, as good food to eat and enjoy. Your pets who cherish and adore you. A car to drive or a bus to ride. What I'm talking about is not settling for the status quo when it's from 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 20 years ago or even 20 minutes ago. Robert Burns once said, everything is in a state of flux, including the status quo. So what I'm talking about is telling a better story by releasing the suffering of your past, even when it's only yesterday, by refocusing on the successes of your experiences. Remember our quote for this morning, our affirmation. About what I am is what I have been, but what I will be is what I am today. So refocusing on the successes of your experiences and moving those forward and letting the others die from lack of attention. We're playing a higher game here, folks. There's no question about that. Assuming this is what we want to see, what we choose to see in the world, we are called to be the instigators and the maintainers of it. And in the process, recrafting our own lives to an even better and enjoyable one by releasing what no longer serves us for our highest and best good. By that I mean highest and best emotional health, highest and best physical health, highest and best mental health, highest and best financial health, highest and best spiritual health. One of the words I used a few moments ago is one that sometimes strikes terror in the minds and hearts of those who are working through the process of acknowledging, blessing, releasing, and replacing. And that's the word surrender. I relax, let go, release, and surrender. When it's in a nice lilting song like that, it's not quite as unnerving as it is when I put it in capital letters, bold and underlined it, and say surrender. So here are the thoughts of Deepak Chopra about that. He said, the word surrender often comes from a negative connotation of having to give up or lose something that I love. However, when used in a spiritual concept, he said, the surrender means to give up everything that is no longer serving you in order to develop a more fulfilled life. I like that definition. And then you'll remember our talking about Dr. Lisa Rankin, Mind Over Body, her book. Well, she has a new book out. And she takes on spiritual surrender in this new book, which is titled The Fear Cure, Cultivating Courage as Medicine for the Body, Mind, and Soul. Essentially, she says, the process of spiritual surrender is about taking that thing you're afraid of, or that problem you think you have to solve, or that unmet longing in your heart for that thing that you don't yet have, and making it an offer to the divine. She says it's about taking all of it, your fears, your desires, your need for control, and turning it over to the arms of love, trusting that you will be protected and guided to take any inspired action necessary, either by internal intuition, your body's compass, so to speak, or extreme external signs from the universe. And of course, here is Ernest Holmes' use of the word surrender. Healing occurs when we get at the mental cause of any physical, mental, emotional, or spiritual dis-ease, providing we are willing to surrender that cause. It's about creating the right mental attitude by replacing the old with the new. So this week, make a covenant with yourself to do this. Tell one story per day, preferably to someone else in addition to yourself. One story per day that reflects something good that has already unfolded in your life. We heard some of those in Standing in the Light this morning, and I'll bet you there are some more in this room. And make a new and different story of a new and different something each day. So that's 7 stories, not one story repeated 7 times. Can you find 7 things in your life, right here and now, that demonstrate the ideas, the beliefs, the actions of the science of mind unfolding in you, and put them into a story to share by now and next Sunday? Can you recall one or more instances of the success of a spiritual mind treatment that you did, or that you had your prayer partner do, or that you had a practitioner do? And use that to craft a story around? I believe every one of us in this room can do that. And what I know is that, let's say, for example, 10 of you do that for 7 days. That's 70 stories of good, better, best, going into the consciousness of the world. Who knows? Perhaps when you tell your success story to somebody else, it'll challenge them to top that. And they'll tell you one of something positive that happened in their life. You know that? That process could change the world. And so it is.